Hey guys, Wolvie here, and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer, any opinion here is mine and mine alone, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. This is the part 2 to the secret build. What I will mention here in this particular portion of the mini-series is the parts that I've gotten since part 1, alongside parts that are on their way to me as I speak, and by that, the time of this recording, alongside parts I still need. Now, I made some switcheroos regarding varying parts that I am getting, so I hope you guys, understand my reasoning behind the decision making for that. So without any further delay, the motherboard here, I particularly love this one. This is the Asus ROG Strix B550A gaming motherboard. This lacks the built-in Wi-Fi, but the reason why I really like this particular motherboard is because, the top slot here is for a Gen 4 NVMe SSD, which I will have this set up as a boot drive, or the boot drive, I should say. And the bottom drive here I can use for extra storage, and this is Gen 3. Now, like I said, this one lacks the innate Wi-Fi, so I'll reveal the whole thing with the Wi-Fi card later on in this video. But this is an AMD platform. The reason why I'm going with the 500 series instead of the 600 series is because the 600 series motherboards, in my personal opinion, are outside my price range, and the 550 series is perfect for budget builds at this moment in time, in my personal opinion. Now, right here, this is the Corsair iCUE Commander Core XT. This is the RGB hub for, you can use fans with. Now, this is one of the changes I actually made alongside the motherboard. Now, with the motherboard, I was going with the X570, but I was thinking it over for a while, and I'm thinking, should I really be spending that much money on something that is considered a budget-friendly build? And the more I was thinking about it, and this motherboard came screaming at me. Now, this is the same exact motherboard from a previous build, and it just felt right with what I have in mind for the build itself. Now, for the Corsair, this particular hub, now this does come with the whole aspect of changing the fans. Now, I could have stuck to my guns and went with the Lian Li Uni family, but something just told me to go with a different brand instead. Now, I've seen recent videos where people have been using different brand of fans and could still get away with a very clean build, in the sense of, you see that first post, and it just looks amazing. So it kind of just, so this is one of those where it's you don't really need to have Lian Li fans in the build in order to make it look so badass. So I'm going with this particular RGB hub. This does hold 6 fans, and for the chassis, which is right over here, the Asus TUF Gaming GT301, this does hold up to 6 fans, 3 at the front, 2 at the top, and 1 in the back. And this is perfect for that. For the processor, this was a change as well. And this is the AMD Ryzen 7 5700X. This is not the 5800X, but the 5700X. And the only reason why I'm changing this is because, again, it's a budget-friendly build. Is the 5800X really necessary for me? No. And that way I can use a low-profile air cooler, and I can get away with a lot more. So, and speaking of the air cooler, I have stuck with the Scythe Big Shuriken 3. This is Revision B. And this does support the AM4 platform, which is what this motherboard is right there. Now, regarding the memory, like I said, I did go with a 32 gig kit, and I am sticking with this particular type. This is the 16 gigabyte times 2. That is, each stick has 16 gigabytes of memory. So that way it gives the driver, gives her a better chance to up the total amount of memory to 64 gigs if need be. Now, to reiterate on the graphics card, it is the NVIDIA Founders Edition. This is the RTX 3060 Ti, and that is right there in a 100% aesthetic. There is a Black Panther Funko Pop because this is going to be a bit of a Black Panther theme in the sense of the color scheme. And now this particular flash drive, I actually, was rummaging through my belongings, and I found this one like by itself, with a BIOS. And I was able to get the latest BIOS for this motherboard. So that way, before I even start the build itself, I can at least do a BIOS flashback, so that way this CPU can work in this motherboard. So that's that on that. I think I revealed the case. So a couple of things I am waiting on. First and foremost, it is the Corsair fans. I am waiting for 6 of them to be exact. I ordered them through Newegg. Now the thing is, I do want to mention here with the fans, and it's a rather hilarious story. So I originally was supposed to do the SP fans, reasonable price, all that stuff, but I had to do a little bit digging with the hub here, and the certain fans will not work with the hub. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hold on to the hub, but I'm going to return the fans because that way I can find a type that's compatible with the hub. So what I am slated to get on Wednesday are the LL120 fans. It's going to be 3 packs in white. So it gives me a little bit of white with a black, being the dominant color of this build. So like I said, I should be getting those fans later on this week. Now another couple of things I am expecting to get this week is, believe it or not, the storage. So there is some changes to the storage as well. So for the extra drive right here for just storage, it is going to be the Samsung 970 EVO Plus. It is a Gen 3 and NVMe SSD drive. It's going to be 2 terabytes down in the bottom. That's going to be like for just games and all that good stuff. Now for the boot drive, it's going to be Western Digital Black SN850X, I think it is. I have to double check my Best Buy order. Those two should be coming later on this week. Now, like the Samsung 970 EVO Plus, the Western Digital NVMe drive will also be at 2 terabytes. That way, I can get the not only the operating server on here, but also the most important programs on the boot drive. So that way, I can separate, the non-important stuff from the important stuff. And I do want to mention here that for this particular build, it will be free from things like the SATA 3 SSD drives. It will be free from that. So those are the items I am waiting for at the moment. So the fans that could work with this particular RGB hub alongside the storage here. Now, one other thing I am waiting to get, and I have to time it, is, believe it or not, just the power supply. So I'm still undecided as to whether or not to go after the 750 watt power supply or the 850 watt power supply. I will say though, it will be from EVGA in the Supernova Platinum family, and most likely it's going to be the P6. But like I said, I do need to hold off on that somewhat, so that way I can, get some of my finances together, make sure everything is paid off correctly, and I can just, go after the power supply without much of an issue. Now, another thing I'm probably going to need to get before I even remotely start going after the build outside the power supply is a Wi-Fi card. I'm going to go with the one that's in rated, which I believe is the TP-Link. That's about $40 which is the price at Micro Center if you live near one. So it's not too long of a video in my personal opinion, but to reiterate, this is the motherboard for the secret build. Alongside that being the RGB fan hub. That's the processor, memory, that's the cooler. Alongside the case, the graphics card, the an aesthetic, that is this is the GPU support bracket, and I do have the BIOS for this particular motherboard. Another thing I do need to go grab before I completely finish this video is another flash drive, but it is going to be a The one where it's like, you know, the media creation tool on a flash drive. So that's something I still need to go grab. Another thing I do plan on getting for this particular build is varying Corsair peripherals. To be more exact, like the keyboard, the mouse, and a mouse pad at the very minimum. I may, you know, include speakers or whatever in the mix in the future. The reason being is the IQ software right there. That way I can have everything there synced up to a singular program for the RGB as opposed to everything on certain things on different programs, and it's just too much of a headache. And I do anticipate on using a plug and play style with this particular build, meaning that once I'm done here, I'm going to put in all the necessary programs like like I said, the operating server, the necessary drivers. I do have some digital codes for a couple of games. I also anticipate on downloading, or actually like getting Steam installed alongside Epic Games or Jane, so that way the driver, she can have whatever games she wants on this particular build. For regarding Microsoft Office, that's on her because that's the only thing I'm not doing for this build. But yeah, so and once I'm done with this particular build, I'm going to take the anti-static bag from this. I do have Odin's original motherboard in this particular chassis. So that way, but I'm going to use the anti-static bag from this particular motherboard and put it with that, so that way I could seal it up, send it out to my buddy, that sort of thing. So that's the male roommate. He's sounding off in his room, and I'm done with this video. So with Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.